So for many, Elon Musk is an electric Jesus or techno Jesus, however you want to call it. But the Tesla CEO is essentially the Messiah for many, many people. They expect him to come save them and deliver them to the promised land. And where is the promised land, you may ask? Well, let's see what Elon Musk is tweeting out today. The Martians will decide how they are ruled. I recommend direct rather than representative democracy, uncrewed starships landing on Mars in approximately 2 years, perhaps with crewed versions passing near Mars, and crewed starships heading there in 4 years are possible. And that's just what he's tweeting out today. So if you want to know where the promised land is, I guess it's Mars. And I chuckle when I laugh at this kind of stuff because to me, I see right through this nonsense. But for many people, they actually take this guy at his word and say, oh, wow, Elon Musk is a genius. He's the Messiah. I guess we're going to Mars. It's so awesome.
Long term, probably be making 1,000 a year of the ship. So,
1,000 a year.
Yeah, well, got to build a city on Mars.
Yeah, that's insane to think about.
Yeah, I mean, we may not build 1,000 a year right here, but I think this is capable of 100 a year.
Really?
Sure.
Wow.
That's only a ship every 3 days.
And
that's nothing.
And
it's very culty in the sense of like, if you guys don't know, he's building a compound in Texas where he can have all his wives and children. I mean, it is culty as it sounds. If you also don't know about Musk, because I've been tracking the story for a long time, he has a whole bunch of bodyguards, and he has to even use bodyguards when he goes to the bathroom because he's worried essentially that employees will come approach him saying, hey, where's my money? Why haven't you paid me? Where's my stocks options you promised me? That's who this guy is. He lives in this crazy fantasy land telling people they're all going to go to Mars. And honestly, guys, it really is that culty. And it's interesting because we actually have a similar problem here in Korea. There's President Yoon, who just got impeached, and also the person before them, who President Park, who was in the same party. They had ties to basically a cult also. It's kind of like this Scientology nonsense. You call it fortune tellers, whatever you want to say. It got so crazy in Korea that essentially President Yoon moved the Blue House, which is equivalent to the White House in USA, and changed locations. My wife thinks it's because he probably asked a fortune teller, where would be good luck to move the White House or / Blue House, right? And that's what they told him. And essentially, this is what we have going on in USA, is you have this like high profile, essentially culty type advisor, Elon Musk, basically controlling the presidency in Donald Trump. This is why this stuff is dangerous. And I've shown you guys the stuff that he tweets out. So he's talking about going to Mars. And then he has this weird obsession with people having more babies. And so then the other part that if you understand this stuff, and if you knew this stuff, you're like, what the heck is this thing? It's like, who follows this guy? Frankly, a lot of people do. It's crazy. He has a bunch of fan clubs and paid accounts on his platform. So if you don't know, the way that it works is that he can promote whatever user that he wants on his platform, and he also gives them monetary benefits. This particular one is like a fan a club. They call it Tesla Owners of Silicon Valley. And Elon Musk 4 hours ago, he's like, please post a bit more positive, beautiful, or informative content on this platform. And then one of his fan accounts is like, it's important that people have enough babies to support civilization. Civilization might die with a bang or with a whimper. So again, he's all about babies. Like, put this all together. He wants many wives at his compound, all about babies, promising you're going to go to Mars. That's seriously what we're talking about. I'm just showing you guys his words. This is one of his Tesla stock promoters. He's got a bunch of these, but Farzad is one of the kings of this. And I just want to show you the kind of stuff that they tweet, just so you get a sense of their culture. This is Farzad 5 hours ago. He says, guys, if you've just turned 18, buy a gaming PC over a console. Go into debt if you have to. This is the kind of stuff that they tweet. And remember, Elon Musk is basically at his heart a car salesman, right? He's a 13-year-old kid mind. He plays games all the time. He actually tweets out his games quite frequently, and he's like talking about being awesome. I think he switched games recently. Before it's Diablo, and now it's Path of Exile. I know, like we really do these. We do know these kind of details. And it was recently too. It was funny. He tweeted out a video of himself playing a video game while SpaceX employees were calling him on the phone while he's playing the game. It's like this kind of stuff is like crazy. This is more that Farzad said, again, one of the Tesla stock promoters, one of Elon's guys. Farzad says, I'm deeply appreciative that X allows for racism to be found on the platform instead of it being removed. Great. That's great to hear, Farzad. And Farzad also says this, which really these guys tell on themselves all the time. This is December 29th. Farzad says, again, one of Elon's boys, I've thought about writing a book many times in the past, but it dawned on me recently that writing out my thoughts on X probably gets me paid way more than publishing a book. So, how much this guy gets paid, through Elon, I don't know. You have to ask Farzad. It's hard to say. But again, there's a network of these people. They all work together, and Elon promotes Farzad. Farzad promotes Elon. They're on the platform together. And there's that. Again, Elon controls the information that you see, and I want you guys to just think about this. I know some people might watch this as a fanboy and fangirl, and they'll say, and this is what they say. They say, "Oh, Chris, you're so dumb. Elon's the smartest person in the world. Look how smart he is. I have to believe everything that he says." Right? And then that's the myth, right? That's how he builds up this cult following. Is you have all these people that don't question what he says, and I'm showing you just stuff that they say. And for anyone on the outside, it should be pretty obvious this is insane, right? It should be pretty obvious. Here's more. Elon, 37 minutes ago, I am confident that we will figure out a reusable, technically high multi-flight reusable heat shield in 2025. So we're talking about, again, technology going to Mars. So I guess that's next year we're building better heat shields.
But I will tell you one thing. Elon Musk is the greatest person on the planet right now. Nobody else out there, nobody has made a rocket ship that'll go to Mars. Nobody out there has made electrification a reality. You look at that magnificent piece back there, even if you don't like the look of the Cybertruck, look inside.
And then Sawyer Merritt, who's another of the king stock promoters for Tesla. And if you don't know, and I have to explain this to you guys, Elon's net worth is based on the price of the stock, basically. And then what he does, he doesn't take any salary from Tesla, so he doesn't have to pay any taxes. He takes no salary. He takes out a whole bunch of loans using the stock as collateral. And if you understand this, the higher the stock price goes up, the more loans he can take out, and the more companies and influences that he can buy, essentially. But again, this is all based on hype, right? It's based on debt. It's based on hype. And so what's interesting though is that like the more he tweets out and stuff like that, the more he exposes himself. So here's an example.
Honestly, I don't believe you're not me.
Yeah, that's a theory.
You
That's
are
a
me.
theory. People think I'm legitimately your clone. There's been theories that I'm one of your Neuralink experiments. Can you clarify that I'm not one of your Neuralink experiments, or maybe I am and I wouldn't realize it?
So I'm just showing you guys what they say. This is Sawyer Merritt, one of the stock promoters. He says, watching these people try to convince themselves that Adrian is Elon is like watching Tesla Q back in the day, trying to convince themselves Tesla is a fraud, and the mental gymnastics is highly entertaining. So they know that they know the allegations and sort of the evidence is out there that Tesla is a fraud, and I gotta tell you, Tesla's a fraud. But they always find ways to push back against it and sort of convince the cult. It's kind of like when you're in a religion and they say, guys, when they say bad things about us, that's when we should rejoice. And a lot of religions tell you that kind of stuff. And I know we can get down that rabbit hole of religion. And if you don't know, I was actually going to be a youth pastor when I was a kid. It was something I was heavily thinking about. I moved away from that, became a professor instead, because I wanted to basically talk to youth other than just religious, stuff. But I just wanted to have a good impression on youth, which I don't think is a crazy thing. And for me, just having you guys look at this nonsense and be able to identify it and spot it. But this is the world we're in. It's like everyone's going crazy, and I'm like, yo, look how crazy this stuff is. So if you don't understand this particular thing, basically the way that the Tesla stock promoters they talk about anyone who talks bad about Tesla is part of Tesla Q, which also represents a ticker if you want to short Tesla, meaning bet against Tesla stock. It is a cult stock, so you never know what this thing is going to do, and it's not based on reality. And that basically means it's a bubble. There's also been, and I believe it, but this part's the hard part to know for sure. We'll never know for sure, I think. Elon Musk has an alt account named Adrian Dittmore, or Dittman, I think that's what it is. It's hard to say if it really is an alt account or if Adrian is using a voice changer to sound like Elon. Who knows? I think it's Elon myself, but I don't know. This will be one of the many mysteries. And you'll see these things pop up from time to time where this Adrian guy who sounds just like Elon will host these long audio events, and people will argue, fight. He'll swear a lot on these things. And so that's always been the conspiracy. I know you're like, what are we talking about? This rabbit hole gets really, really nuts the more you dig down into it. And then to talk about the influence that Tesla and Elon has, I guess now we're talking about gigafactories in Scotland. That's what we're tweeting out about now. So this is about money. Make no mistake. There is money involved with this stuff. And remember, the Teslas is all based on hype. Elon's wealth is based on the price of the stock. He takes loans out for that and then use that money to buy influence and then keep the hype machine going. But when you actually dig into what they actually say, you can kind of see right through it. So for example, December 28th, Sawyer Merritt, again, one of the stock promoters for Tesla, Tesla is now offering free limited time supercharging when you buy a new Foundation Series Cybertruck 4 from inventory. So basically, now, because the Cybertruck was a complete failure for them, they're such a failure that they have to give you free supercharging for life. Like whenever a company's trying to give you that kind of stuff and it just says you got to get it from our inventory, like they're sitting on the lot, they can't sell these things. And then what's funny about this, the stock promoters and the Tesla cult is they try to pretend that everything's going great. Literally, they tell on themselves right here, guys, we can't sell these things. Please take these trucks. We'll give you a free supercharging for life. It's obvious, right? But they, again, that's what's entertaining about this stuff is they try to spin it to make it sound good. And if you don't know, basically Tesla had a big problem with a lot of their major employees leaving, right? Basically, Elon went nuts. And the other problem was is that he bought Twitter, and people like to say, people who love Elon, they say, "Oh, Chris, you just don't like Elon because he just turned Republican. You just don't like him because he's right wing." It's actually not the case. It's more that the dude is the Tesla CEO, right? He's supposed to be running a car company, and then he just completely takes his attention away from Tesla and goes and does something else, right? It doesn't matter if like say, let's forget about Twitter. Let's say he went out and bought a baseball team, and then he just talks about baseball all day, every day. And, I think a natural response would be, dude, aren't you supposed to be running your car company? Why are you out running a baseball team? So the politics of Twitter is kind of irrelevant. It's more about the taking your attention away from your main focus, which should be your car company. And there's been reports all over Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, et cetera, where they count the number of tweets he does every day. At one point, it was like 73 tweets a day. I think it's a lot more today. It takes too much to actually go through all of it. And I'm happy that we have reporters that actually do that. And I think they use probably, spreadsheets and I want to say, quote, AI, but they have probably faster ways of counting them by hand. But this is sort of what we're talking about, why we connect all of these things together. Going back to the Cybertruck thing, after Tesla bled a bunch of, people, essentially Elon really took the reins on the Cybertruck design. This is all him. The other stuff is other people. The Cybertruck is all him. And because the Cybertruck is an abysmal failure and a horrible design, horrible sales, too high a price, broken promises, blah, 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 everything barely works, it really shows how incompetent Elon is. And so I'm trying to connect this stuff to make sure, for those of you who don't know, this is what it's all about. This is other stuff he tweets out, and the more you dig into it, you'll say, okay, you'll start to recognize the BS that Elon does. So this is some sort of tweet. This is another friend account of his by Hassan Sajwani, and you'll notice he retweets stuff all the time. So it says, huge thanks Elon Musk for making this wonderful platform X. Zero anti-Semitic. Okay, great. And then they're trying to promote that X is better than TikTok or Instagram. That's what this boils down to. When you dig into like the stuff that they cite, and I have to show you guys all the time because Elon tweets out a bunch of fake news nonstop. They're citing some sort of survey from a thing called Generation Lab. It surveyed 1,323 Americans aged under 30. And I guess it's basically probably some sort of online poll or whatever. Who knows? I looked up where their information that they're tweeting out. It's called Generation Lab. It's right here. It's some sort of website. It appears to be run by basically young people / students. This is their staff right there. You can see that one of their guys, so this would be the chief operating officer. It says graduation from Stanford 2024. I'm sure he's very smart. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but these people are young, 2024. The other person looks like he had another company, Cyrus. So this is the CEO. I would be willing to bet he comes from a wealthy family. I'm pretty sure. But I don't know for sure. I don't know him personally, but when you see this kind of stuff, so this is in a Forbes article. It says Forbes 30 under 30. I used to work in Hollywood. I went to the same school as Elon. Like I said, I've been around rich kids. I know how this is. You basically buy advertising for yourself. And these are just vanity pieces. And then Forbes promotes you as like, oh, look at this rising star. He's a top rising star in the 30. These are essentially paid advertisements for rich people. And then he had some sort of company called College Reaction. You dig into it more. He went to Williams, played baseball. So that means you get into Williams. He's probably good at baseball. I'm sure he's pretty good. But usually you get in under lower academic admission standards. That's how that works when you play sports at any one of these schools. But he could be really smart, for all I know. He could be. But sort of when you put it together, I'm thinking rich kid that played baseball to get into Williams. Williams is a good school, though. But then you read it here. It says, I'm a junior at Williams from D.C., with is he from Washington D.C.? I could probably figure out what his family does. I wouldn't be shocked if they're wealthy. I wouldn't be shocked. Then he says here, his mission is to get college students at the seat of the table via statistics and journaling. And then it shows he was a college Republican. So this stuff all adds up. And then his old company, I looked at the website, it no longer exists. You can see it right here. So again, you have to understand and put all this stuff together. Like, okay, who are we promoting? Who's getting paid? Where is this information coming from? And then we got this, people who've been calling out Elon. And these are actually more on the MAGA side because they're disappointed in Elon's, stance on immigration. It sounds like, and this is just, well, it sounds like this is in their own words. Essentially, they want to kick out the poor labor immigrants, or the cheap labor immigrants, and then have Americans do those jobs. And then they want to replace Americans with cheaper immigrants that do the tech jobs. I mean, it's just, Elon's all about cheap labor, and anyone who calls him out about that, they've been silencing. And it's very ironic because Elon talks about free speech all day, every day. And there's this, and I hope you guys understand kind of how complicated this stuff is when you talk about the world of Elon and the cult.
If you wanted to pick like the most extreme possible like attorney to put in charge of the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department to sort of reverse DEI, it would be this lawyer named Harmeet Dillon, who's been a California lawyer who's been, the scourge of woke corporations for the last decade. As it happens, she has just been appointed to run the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department. And for the people who don't track this, the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department is the federal government, basically prosecutorial arm that basically enforces wokeness. They're the ones that basically have made sure for the last decade that all these companies have all these crazy policies under penalty of being investigated, subpoenaed, ultimately prosecuted.
9 minutes ago, excellent. America should be a meritocracy. And the rich people like Elon who, were born with emeralds in their pockets, they always like to talk about meritocracy, right? Because for them, right, when you're born on the white side of apartheid, right, well, I earned being born on the white side of apartheid. Those black people born on the poor side of apartheid, they just didn't earn it. They didn't work hard like me, who was born with the emeralds. That's how they think. So this kind of people, he's tweeting out, we got to get rid of DEI, this kind of stuff. Now let me explain sort of what this is all about. So the basic gist of it is, and this is one of Elon's buddies, Mark Andreessen, they'll complain about, being sued for hiring practices, these kind of things. They talk about in the interview. And you have to understand the way Elon behaves at work, okay? So first, he's building his compound from his wives and many children. He runs around the office, and just imagine if you did this at the office. Just imagine if you tried this. He runs around the office asking his employees, would you like my sperm and have my babies? You can't make this stuff up. I mean, it's like, this is how egregious these things are. And it's been multiple times when Elon has been sued by several employees for not paying them, for sexual harassment, these kind of things, and they always settle, right? That's what happens. And so what we're going on right now is he wants an administration, when they always talk about deregulation, is basically remove any sort of laws so that we can get away with anything. That's what this all boils down to. And so when you see these kind of reports, and I just want you guys to understand like how dangerous someone like Elon is, of like, oh, okay, Trump people, we don't want to report our crash data with our Teslas. Please make it so that we don't have to report that. You guys see the corruption and the cultist stuff here. And when I point to these kind of reports, right, these are important reports. Tesla workers report explosions, concussions, and grisly robot injuries at the Tesla factory. That's what we're dealing with. And I want you to make this clear. And this is where it gets really, really tricky to understand human psychology and the world. There's a couple things going on. So there's one, is America is an aging society. So there's a report that came out recently. I'm just showing you some data. Essentially, I think we have 4 million Americans per year that turn 65. And this came out, I think this was the Wall Street Journal that was talking about that. It was actually really quite interesting. And essentially, this the changing demographics, which it, I'm just giving you some statistics. We also have changing in what people believe, okay? So basically, I'm showing you a chart up here. I'm just throwing it up there. But basically, people that go to church every week in the USA is like 21%, not that many. The only ones that actually really go to church is like Mormons. That's like go every week to church is like 54%. So even them, though, not all of them go every week. Now, I am not saying that religion is the answer. I want to make that really clear. I am not saying that religion is the answer. What I am saying, though, is that this is part of understanding humans. We need to have a sense of community. This is natural. We're social beings. You'll see it throughout human history. Just people want to be associated with sort of groups, right? Now, for some people, going to religion to go meet their friends in their neighborhood, that's what they want to do. And I have no problem with that. That's what you want to do, go for it. Other people, which we're seeing today in today's society, they're sort of worshiping these billionaires like Elon, and it becomes very cult-like. It's very similar to religion. That's why I showed you guys the church attendance is down. But worship of Elon is up, right? He's replaced the sort of deities of the past. And so this is sort of the world we have to navigate these days. And people look to essentially the messiahs as things get worse and worse. There's a interesting chart here I want to show you guys. They call this the K-shaped recovery. It's basically when after the pandemic, things recovered at different rates. However, there is a massive divide between rich and poor. I just saw this chart. I thought this was a good illustration of it. If you have education, you have skills, right? Chances are you're going to do much better. If not, you're probably not. It's just the divide's going to get worse. Also, if you're older, if you have assets, be it, we'll just use real estate as an example. It's easy to understand. You would know that real estate prices have gone through the roof the last few years, right? You just know this, right? And so what happens is the divide even gets bigger. If you have real estate, if you have assets, it's not just real estate, you can talk about stocks as well. If you have stocks and real estate, you feel like you're getting much richer. It's on paper though, the same way that Elon Musk's wealth is on paper. It's paper because you don't actually have that cash, just that yes, it's worth more. But if you don't have these things, if you don't have stocks, you don't have real estate, you're falling further and further behind. And so we're in this sort of crazy bubble situation. People feel very, very desperate because the divide is getting worse. And there's a documentary I would recommend you guys seeing if you haven't seen it already. It's called American Factory. It's on Netflix. And I'll give you the basic gist of it. It's essentially you have an aging workforce in USA where their skills aren't, what's the right word to say, trying to be nice about it. Let's say they aren't competitive in today's marketplace. You have automation that is a challenge for them, right? If you can get machines to replace them, you will, because machines are more efficient, they can be cheaper, etc. And it depends on the job, exactly. So it's not that machines will take all your jobs, but it depends on the job. But in this situation, this documentary is about a glass factory, and actually a Chinese company comes in and buys it, and you'll see different expectations of what the workforce should do. And they also compare that to the workforce in China, which is much, much younger and has different expectations of work life. And essentially, Elon really praises the Chinese worker. He does that all the time, and he'll ridicule the American worker. But what it really boils down to is Elon wants cheap workers that will be obedient and they'll do whatever you say. And if not, you'll just fire them and they're easily replaced. And then Elon also is preaching technology all the time, and he's going to build a bunch of robots to replace you. So I know we talk about a lot, but if you understand like this whole cult, his goals in life and sort of what he thinks about, and that people sort of feed into his own hype, say stuff like go to Mars, you realize like how crazy this world is that we are in. And I'm just telling you right now, we went through it here in Korea with President Park just the last time around, and now we have President Yoon with the impeachments, to where some people, like, they get heavily influenced by a third party, be it Scientology type of people like an Elon, that cult, and it doesn't lead to good things. And hopefully enough people wake up to see it. In USA, I don't know when that's going to be. That's why I try to put these videos. Here in Korea, though, the Yoon situation with the impeachment, I think his approval rating was like, 18%, something like that. So there were still some people who liked him, but then the other, 82% of Koreans saw right through the nonsense. However, what's sad though, is there will still be some people who still vote for that crazy party. I'm talking about the Korean situation, but it's pretty similar in USA as well. Regardless of, how much Elon and Trump don't care about you or crash and burn, there'll be still people like, but Chris, the Republicans are awesome. And I'm not here to tell you the Democrats are awesome. I'm not here to tell you that at all. But I can plainly see, though, that the path they were going is not great. And I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Elon as being the electric Jesus, techno Jesus? And when do you think this cult will end? Or is everyone buying into the cult? And I guess maybe we are going to Mars. Maybe I'm wrong. Please let me know. And I'll catch you in the next video.